I got me a bag, it can't even fit up in my jeans. The niggas mad, prices back up on my teeth. We try too fast, I didn't know I made it down the street. Yeah, French, I we the team. 100 rolls up in a week.
That's right, boys, we are here, the Parlay Princes. It is just me today, Max, AK Controversy. I'm sorry I was not here last week. It was a busy week actually shooting, and I was in California. I couldn't even bet. I placed a fire 8-leg before I left, and I couldn't cash it out before Pyfer did what he did. I fuck with Pyfer heavily still. I couldn't last more than 2 rounds with a fucking trash can, so I can't even imagine going 5 with Hernandez. So all power to him. We'll be back for some more this weekend. UFC 298. I'm so happy to be out of Vegas. It was literally making me depressed, like these Apex cards. I love UFC regardless, so I'll watch anything. But I just wanted a crowd, and I just wanted people that weren't making their debut. And that's going to happen again this week. And unfortunately, in the prelims, a good amount. But we're going to try and maneuver through that. It's kind of like a pilot with turbulence. We're going to try and, if we're at 30,000 feet, we're going to hit 37,000 feet, go above the storm, and back on course. That's my plan for this weekend. Let's start it up. And guys, real quick too, if you don't mind, just like, comment, subscribe, any of that. It helps the algorithm a lot. I'm just starting off, so any little interaction or engagement helps the algorithm for me. So I do appreciate that. All right, so I'm sorry I have my phone out, but a lot of y'all have your computers in your faces. So again, let me live. I need the phone. I did 5 hours of notes on this bitch. Let's get it. To start it off, we got Andrea Lee and we got Miranda Maverick in the 125-pound division. Lee is 13-8, Maverick is 14-5, and I'm just going to announce this early. If you straight bet any of these first 4 to 5 fights, you need to go to rehab for gambling, because super sketchy stuff, people making their debuts. This women's fight, these people have a lot of UFC history, but still, it's just like I'm going to tell you early, my pick is Maverick, but Lee could win. Safety pick is going the distance, but let me first break down these stats, then we'll get to that. But again, if your friend is straight betting this next to you, just take his phone and give it back to him when the main event starts, because we're not doing that. So in this fight, we got a 34-year-old in Lee versus a 26-year-old in Maverick. That kind of stands out. 8 years is a big difference, but we've seen a lot of older competition vets pulling it through, making amazing comebacks. So we don't hold that against Lee for being 8 years older, but that is something that stands out. Both fighters are actually Muay Thai fighters, so we got Muay Thai versus Muay Thai. Lee's been in the UFC since 2018, 5-6 in her last 11, and 2-3 in her last 5. Lee is 3 inches taller, and she has a 4-inch reach. I'm not going to say advantage, because that's only if she uses that to her advantage. But again, she is taller and she is longer. She went the distance with Silva and lost by unanimous decision, but Silva is a fucking beast. We love Silva over here. We've made money off Silva. That's a tough one to go 15 minutes with her. We respect that as well. She lost 2 fights before that. She lost to Joanne Wood, Murphy, and Roxanne all back-to-back, which is a little terrifying to me. Let's go to Maverick. She's 3-2 in her last 5. She's been in the UFC since 2020, and she's 5-3 since then in those 4 years. She lost to Jazz Davicius, but she did go the distance, which is impressive, because we just saw what Jazz Davicius did to Cachoeira, and Maverick actually submitted Cachoeira in her last fight. So interesting stuff. MMA math doesn't always add up, but you got a little something there. Maverick is not like the best overall fighter, but she's never gone out there and just gotten starched. She usually holds her own. She'll fight for your money for the most part. So my pick is Maverick. All her losses are decision too, so that's interesting. She has, again, never gone out there and just gotten fucking punched in the face and called it quits. So if she loses, she tries to stick it out, goes the 15 minutes. Again, Maverick is the pick. I'm going to consider age. I'm going to consider just overall talent. And I'm looking at the record as well. So Maverick is the pick, but I will be also putting it going the distance as well. Next, we got Elliot versus Woodburn, 185 pounders. Elliot is 9-2. Woodburn is 7-1. Taking a sip. Elliot is 4 years younger at 26. He's 4 inches taller, but his reach is 2 inches less. Again, this is another fight that you will need rehab for if you straight bet it, because these people have very little to no UFC experience. The only person that does have UFC experience is Woodburn, and he just got starched by Bo Nickel. Aggressively starched. Bo Nickel is a submission specialist. He went out there and punched Woodburn in the face and had him on stilts and disintegrated him. So just right there, his chin is suspect. If Bo Nickel comes out there and starches you in 30 seconds, 20 seconds, bro, I can't. I know Bo Nickel is nasty. He's probably going to be champion one day, but I pictured because his wrestling, not because he's just decking you one time. Come on, bro. I can't do that. And very ironically, that happened on the last Volkanovski card. And here we are. Something to think about. Yeah, it was his first fight in the UFC, and I know it was short notice. I think it was 24 hours notice, but still, bro, that's just not okay. And I feel like this time he's going to be extra nervous. He has something to prove. I know the competition isn't as high. Maybe he was just assuming Bo was just going to shoot all night, and that's why he wasn't worried about the hands. But, bro, I can't. After that performance, I just can't do it. And we haven't even talked about the other guy yet. I'm just so scared of Woodburn. So Elliot is on a 5-fight win streak. He's only fought in the Contender Series, but he went the distance with a KO artist, so it was impressive. Again, the guy is not fighting his UFC caliber, but to go the distance with someone that's on the Contender Series for being a KO artist is somewhat impressive. And it's just something to think about too, because Dana doesn't like it going the distance in the Contender Series, but he must have seen something in that guy. I personally have not watched the fight back. I've seen all the Contender Series fights, but I forget that one specifically. But that stands out to me as well. Dana's picking a guy that went the distance. Dana's looking for finishes. He must have seen something there. He also went the distance 4 in his last 5 fights. That's something to think about as well. That could go the distance. That could be a good play right there. You don't have to put anything money line. Just put it going the distance, say a prayer, and see what happens. My personal pick is going to be Elliot, and I hate to base it off the last fight, but terrifying stuff. And again, Elliot's on just a tear right now. What was it? 5-fight win streak? I've seen it enough. Elliot's the pick. All right, next we got Josh Quinlan versus Danny Barlow, 170 pounders. 6-1 in Quinlan versus 7-0 in Barlow. One thing that stood out to me right off the bat was just the 7-inch reach in Barlow. Again, I can't say advantage. We'll see if he uses that, but that's big. Quinlan is a BJJ artist. We'll start with him. He's 3-1-1 in his last 5. Only 2 fights in the UFC, and he's 1-1 in those. He lost his last fight, unanimous decision, to Trey Waters, which isn't the best look, I'm going to be honest. And we got Barlow, who's on a KO hot streak right now. What was it? 4 KOs in his last 5 fights. He hasn't done any UFC fights. He only won his Contender Series fight. So, not official UFC, but you're getting there. Here you are. Time to show everybody what you're about, Barlow. In the Contender Series, he KO'd the guy in round 1. So, again, impressive. Dana was on his feet. Another fight that's scary, again, just because of the lack of experience on both sides. Between these 2 fighters, they only have 2 UFC fights combined, so a little terrifying. My pick is going to be Barlow, just because of the record and his KO power. I'm usually terrified of people that have no UFC experience, but we saw that last week with Giles, which was scary too. Giles was winning the fight, but it was one of those fights where it was okay to bet on the up-and-coming prospect, and this looks like the same thing here. So yeah, my pick is Barlow, not official KO. but definitely money line. This is going to be an interesting one for me because I have found some holes that some people are speaking about, some people aren't. So we got Zhang, MingYang versus Brendson, Ribeiro. 205 pounders, big boys. So let's talk about Zhang and MingYang for a second. So he is 16-6. Everyone is very hyped up about this 9-fight win streak. Last 5 fights are all KOs round 1. Super impressive. You dive a little bit deeper. The last fight, guy was 7-3. Okay. Fight before that, 0-2. Fight before that, 0-2. Fight before that, 0-3. Fight before that, 0-3. So overall, the 5 opponents he's fought last, combined overall win record, 7. And it's all from one guy. So I'm sorry, but this just KO hype on this guy. I just can't take it when you're just fighting guys that have never won a professional fight in their life. Like, the math isn't mathing. I cannot be taking this. Yeah, so just with those kind of records combined, I just can't do it, bro. I'm sorry. We'll talk about Ribeiro for a little bit. He's 3-2 in his last 5. He has a Contender Series win. That's what got him here. But again, the issue I have here is that a guy he's KO'd recently is 0-10. What are we doing? How are these on pay-per-view prelims? It's just a weird fight. I can't take it. Like, people, I'm looking at these KOs and I dive in deeper, and one guy's 0-10 and another guy's 0-30. Like, bro, who are they KOing? Not professional fighters. So, again, don't straight bet this shit. Like, this is, I don't know who, everyone's excited for this shit. I'm not excited to see which guy that kills cans is going to fight better against the guy who kills cans. My pick is Ribeiro, but that's why I'm just doing parlays for $1 and just, these first 4 fights are all Hail Marys. Like, I'm sorry, I just don't feel like these should be on pay-per-view prelims. Not prospects, at least. Apex that shit. And again, Ribeiro is my pick because no reason at all. That's what we're doing. All right, so next we got Rinya Nakamura versus Carlos Vera, 135 pounds. I'm not even going to break this down a lot because this should just be a shit show. This is not worth even talking about too much. Nakamura is 8-0. Vera is 11-3. Nakamura is a minus 1,200. I'm not discussing minus 1,200s on this podcast because that's it. They have been chosen. So it most likely can go submission. I don't expect to go in the distance. I would hope just his overall experience and talent does not let this go to the judges' decisions. But Nakamura is my pick. Again, I'm not discussing minus 1,200s. It is a waste of time. Next. All right, this will be a goodie. We got Lima versus fucking Tafa. A bunch of heavyweights in this bitch. Lima's 21-10. Tafa's 7-3. And they are both apparently strikers, even though Lima is very good at using his weight to bring things to the ground. Lima is 8 years older, which is a little bit scary, but he is someone that fights for your money, minus the Lewis fight, freak accident. Tafa hit him with that flying knee, you heard? No, I'm kidding. I need Lima. But as we know, kneed in the face heavy by Lewis. If I got kneed in the face by Lewis, my head would have came off. So Lima, I respect you for at least still being conscious, even though you definitely lost everybody money. But again, don't expect that to happen this time. So this is a very weird jump because we went from people with absolutely no experience in the UFC at all to a guy with 16 UFC fights total. I don't like these prelims. That's just me personally. I know a lot of people are hyped up about them. I am not. Well, I am officially now because of Lima and Tafa, but like those first 4, Apex. Lima's 3-2 in his last 5. He's had 1 KO, 1 unanimous decision, and 1 submission in those last 3 wins. Even at 38, he's still got it. He can go a 3-rounder, no problem. Applies a lot of pressure. Isn't afraid to stand and bang. Isn't afraid to take things to the ground. And he still has just tremendous power when he gets a hold of you. It's just, he latches on, tries to take it to the ground, tries to keep you against the cage, and he does a pretty good job of doing that. And we'll talk about Tafa. He's 3-2 in his last 5. All his losses are decisions, so that's something to think about. He can go the distance, no problem. Although he did lose unanimous decision to Jared Vandera, which is a little rough because he's 1-4 right now. So to lose to that guy, a little terrifying. It's a tough call because Tafa's power. He is not afraid to just stand and bang with you, and he does a great job of doing that. As we can see in that last Lane fight, he was super comfortable. Part of that might have been Lane's chin, but we know Tafa's explosive, and he's a heavyweight in the UFC for a reason. So yeah, my pick is going to be Lima. Just because of the pressure he's going to apply. I think his fight IQ and his experience is going to show in this. And Tafa, I think Lima just has more ways to win. That's really what it's about for me. He could clip Tafa. I don't really see that happening. I kind of picture it going the distance. But again, Tafa is terrifying. I think Lima knows that. Lima's my pick. Next we got Amanda Lemos, and we got Mackenzie Dern, 115 pounds. Lemos is 13-3-1. Dern is 13-4. We got a striker in Lemos versus BJJ and Dern. She is phenomenal on the ground. And that is the biggest thing here, and that's why it's kind of a fun fight, is the striker versus the BJJ specialist. We'll talk about Lemos first. She's 6 years older at age 36. Not that terrifying. She's still dangerous minus that last fight she had. We'll talk about that in a second. All the stats are looking super close with takedowns and strikes. So even though Dern is a BJJ specialist, Lemos's takedown defense is, percentage-wise, is close to Dern's. And it is surprising that all their stats, takedown and striking, look similar. You would think that Dern is just miles ahead percentage-wise, but that's not the case here. So Lemos is 3-2 in her last 5. She beat Hill, Waterson, Gomez. She beat Marina Rodriguez, not the highest level, minus Hill. I think Hill's are right, but it is what it is. She fought for the belt in her last fight and got slaughtered, and I got slaughtered too. I had a free $25 bet to win $1,000, and I just needed Weili to finish her. So you can imagine how I felt. I'm freaking out at the TV. Finish her. Doesn't get the finish. That was my last leg, bro. $25 to win $1,000. Free $25. I'm like shaking thinking about it. So yeah, Lemos got spanked by Weili. The one thing I did see in this though was even in the 4th and 5th round, when Weili was shooting for takedowns, Lemos was still kind of clipping her, because there were some times where I was like, is Weili about to get fucking knocked? But she didn't. But again, Lemos was holding her own even though she just couldn't do anything on the ground. So that right there is the big concern, because now with Dern, she's a freak show on the ground, and she's going to try and take it there, because as we saw against Andrade, she cannot stand and bang. I bet on Dern that fight, and I was throwing up in my mouth watching that shit. It's just disrespectful to be tripping over your own feet when I have money on you. Bro, that Andrade fight, that's why my pick here is not Dern. Because that Andrade fight, bro. If Lemos touches his girl in the face once, bro, there's nothing. We got nothing here, bro. I can't be doing that sitting on the ground, scooting and shit. Like, I'm sorry, Dern. Like, you are beautiful, but you got no hands, and you're fighting someone with hands, and she knows you're going to shoot for the takedown. So yes, if Dern can get that and keep her there, that's one thing. But if she tries and fails, bro, Lemos is going to take over. So my pick here is Lemos. Again, she just survived 5 rounds with Weili, and she was still kind of clipping her when she was coming in here and there. If Dern looks anything like that Andrade fight, then I'll be throwing up my mouth again, and we know that doesn't taste good. So my pick here is Lemos for sure. All right, I know they're like adding some fights on or something. I see stuff on FanDuel, but I don't see it on ESPN, so I don't know who has the drop or not. But we'll do those later on in the week when it's not early predictions. You'll see all the fights that are actually happening. So we are happy to announce we are at the main card finally. Some very high competition fights here. I am very, very excited for this main card. We'll start it off with Anthony Hernandez, and we got Roman Kopylov, 185 pounders. Hernandez is 11-2, and Kopylov is 12-2. And everything looks pretty even except for Hernandez's takedown percentage and submission average is like through the roof compared to Kopylov's. So that stood out to me immediately. We'll talk about Hernandez first. He's 4-1 in his last 5. He has KOs, submissions, and decisions all in those wins. His only UFC loss was to Marcus Perez and Holland, but that was back in 2019 and back in 2020. That was back when Holland was way more dangerous and Hernandez was a super different fighter. I feel like he's just been on a tear recently, and I forget what gym he's at, but he's doing something right. So I've really been liking Hernandez's style recently. He's amazing at taking people to the ground. I think his last 3 fights, he's had 22 takedowns, which does mean the people are getting back up. So that is kind of the scare here, although he did submit Vera back in 2021, and we just saw what Vera did to Petrosian. So for you to submit Vera second round, you're doing something right, bro, because that guy is terrifying. The only issue we have is Kopylov is a fucking killer. He started off his UFC career with 2 losses, but he's turned that around drastically. He's on a 4-fight win streak, all by KOs. You know, he had that crazy head kick, as we know, made him a little bit of like a viral sensation, because I saw that clip a whole bunch of times on TikTok. That was a crazy head kick, super loud. We all loved it, and that's why I love this fight right here, just because the clash of styles. I just think style for style, I like Hernandez a little more. I like the idea of him evading, shooting the takedown when it really is perfect for him, and keeping it there for a little bit, scoring some points, and just rinsing and repeating. And I think Kopylov's going to get more and more tired. Again, if it wasn't Anthony Hernandez, I'd probably go Kopylov, but for this pick, I will be going Hernandez. Next, we got Merab, and we got Cejudo, 135-pound bantamweights. Again, very excited for this fight. Both vets, both extremely good on the ground, and extremely good at applying pressure. Let's see what we got here. We got Merab is 16-4. We got Cejudo is 16-3. And this just shows you how good the main card is, because how low this fight is in the main card. Only the second one in, and we get these vets going at it. Love it. Let's get it. So Merab actually started his UFC career on a 2-fight losing skid, but since then has been on a fucking tear. He's now on a 9-fight winning streak. So he has just been blowing past his competition. I believe all decisions, all unanimous decisions, and he has 1 KO in there. So that's very interesting. Something to think about too, just his fight going the distance. I like that pick a lot as well. Merab's last wins were against Petr Yan, so he's fought super top level competition. That's why this fight again is such a goodie. He actually even beat Brad Katona back in 2019, and Brad Katona fell through his last fight, but he's a pretty scary dude, and I've been putting him on parlays for a hot minute now. So something to think about too, the fact that he beat Katona. He just dominates by getting in the clinch, not afraid to just apply pressure and just keep people against the cage. Even if the crowd is booing, everyone's booing, he says, I don't give a fuck. This is my battle. This is how I'm picking to fight this fight. And that's what he does. He goes out there, applies immense amounts of pressure, whether it be on the ground, in your face, against the cage. Merab is super dangerous and just great at racking up points. And we got Cejudo here. He's 4 years older at 37. Again, he had the belt a few years back and then took a nice little layoff. He's been in the UFC since 2014, so this guy is a legit vet. Like 10 years later, here we are predicting his fights. Like, guy's a GOAT. He's 10-3 in his 13 fights, so amazing record. He had the belt 2018 to 2020. He KO'd Dillashaw, KO'd Cruz, so fought just top level competition, and even just fought Aljamain Sterling for the belt. He lost, but he gave it his all, and he's back for some more with my guy Merab. I'm going with Merab as my pick, just because I think he is just relentless, and he is not going to get tired. This is a three-round fight, so that is interesting for Henry Cejudo. But I'm going with Merab by decision personally. To be safe, you could just put it going the distance, assuming these guys are just in the clinch the whole time. Merab is also the lock of the week too, because I just do not see him losing. So again, he's the pick money line. Also going the distance. I'm also going to put Merab as the lock of the week. Let's get it. Next, we got another fucking goodie. I'm excited for this press conference too, just because there's a little bit of bad blood between these guys. We got Geoff, Neal, we got Garry, 170 pounders. And the reason there's bad blood is because Garry put Geoff Neal's mugshot on a shirt. I don't know if he sold copies or what, but that's what started. There was stuff before this, but I think that's where we left off. So I am excited to see what happens in this. We'll talk about Neal first. He's 7 years older at 33, and he's 4 inches shorter than Garry. Neal's 2-3 in his last 5, but he's also losing to top caliber fighters, so nothing against him. Wonderboy, Magny, Rachmanov are all part of his recent losses, but again, super top level competition. He won a unanimous decision with Barlow in 2019, and we know how good Barlow is, so that is very impressive, but that was a different Barlow. Barlow is on a fucking tear now too, so shout out Barlow because he's won me Baggingtons. I like Neal a lot. I'm just scared he's a little bit on a decline. So I guess we'll talk about Garry before I dive into the picks. But Garry has a very impressive record, undefeated in the UFC. He's 6-0, all wins by KO or unanimous decision. So he leaves very little room for error. I loved that fight with D-Rod. I thought he just dominated, because D-Rod is not that easy, despite what some people think. I was very impressed by that. We did see his chin get tested a little bit. He got clipped with that right or left by Song Kanon, and he just dropped, so that was a little terrifying. I'm picturing a lot of leg kicks, just like he did to Magny too. So for that reason, I'm going Garry. He's just looking impressive. I see this playing out very similar to the Magny fight personally, and there's not much to say about this. I'm going Garry, but I am just putting money line because I have, just like the Wei Li thing, I had another bet, free 25 for 1,000. Maybe it wasn't 1,000, it was 800. It was some big number, but I just needed Garry to win and for it to be under 1.5, and he went the distance. So things like that kind of haunt my dreams, where I'll literally just put money line. I'm done being greedy. I don't need the plus money. I'll take the minus, whatever, 200, 300. So yeah, Ian's the pick. I don't know how this plays out. Ian does like to say he's going to KO him in the first and all this stuff, and then just goes decision. So money line, be safe. Next. All right, second to last fight here, incoming banger. Super excited for this one. Robert Whittaker, Paulo Costa, 185 pounders. This is going to be a beauty, just because who these guys have fought, how long they've been in the organization for. It's going to be a beautiful one. I hope Costa makes weight. We got Whittaker 25-7. We got Costa 14-2. Very similar stats. They're basically dead even as far as takedown average and striking accuracy. All that stuff is pretty similar. Talk about Whittaker first. He's one of the most respected guys in the UFC. Everybody loves him. Everyone says he's super nice. Again, just very loved overall in the MMA community. Very well respected. Has fought extremely top level competition for the past 7-8 years, something like that. Guy's a beast. He's 3-2 in his last 5 and only lost to champions. He lost to Izzy, lost to Duplessis. That Duplessis one was a little scary because everyone was just banking so heavily on Whittaker, and then he just got starched. It is possible people have rough nights, so we don't hold that against him. It happens to the best of us. But he is a killer. He beat Ribeiro twice. He beat Brendson, beat Till, Uriah Hall, Tavares. This was all before 2018, so it was a different time, but he's just fought fucking killers. It's, you know, to beat Ribeiro twice, like, God bless your soul, you've done it. You can retire. But he's still here. He's still going at it. Talk about Costa a little bit. He's 2-3 in his last 5. He beat Rockhold. He beat Ribeiro. He KO'd Uriah Hall. And I love Uriah Hall too. That was a rough one to watch. He lost to Izzy so badly. And if you haven't watched that fight, that is one of my favorite fights. Like, the domination and confidence from Izzy was unbelievable. And I think I've watched that fight like 20 times. It only lasted like 7 minutes. So if you haven't watched Izzy versus Paulo Costa, watch that, because Paulo Costa got picked the fuck apart, like, unbelievably. My issue with Costa is the gas tank. I can't bet on him and then see him in the 3rd round with his mouth wide open, like huffing and puffing. And, you know, that Rockhold fight, granted, it was at like elevation, so I know that has something to do with it, but I have nightmares of that shit where I just see, if I bet on Costa and 3rd round he's dying. Like, Whittaker is a 5-round demon, and he has the gas tank. Duplessis is a freak show, and he's weird, so I think that's why Whittaker got clipped, and I don't see this happening with the Paulo Costa fight. I think Whittaker's just overall experience, talent, fight IQ. He's just going to not dominate, but it's going to go to decision, and it's going to be 29-28, 30-27 possibly, Whittaker. So yeah, Whittaker's my pick. Excited for that one. Let's get it. For the main event of the evening, we got my guy Volkanovski, the fucking demon, versus Elliot Topuria, another very scary human. Volkanovski's 26-3, Topuria's 14-0. Topuria is looking so confident this week that it's scaring me. I'll tell you now, my pick is Volkanovski. And I'll also tell you, I'm not putting any of these on my parlays. Maybe some little tiny ones, like, just to do it. But really, I want to watch this as a fan. Like, I don't want to have any money involved in this fight. I want to sit back and just watch this thing unfold. So I am so excited for this fight. Both guys are super confident. Both guys are absolute killers. And I love fights at this weight class. They move so quick. Like, both guys have hands, both guys have takedowns, both guys have takedown defense, both guys have submissions, both guys are dogs. It's like such a beautiful fight, and it's either going to be super close, or I think it's like Volkanovski dominating. Like, that's just kind of how I see it. We'll talk about some of these stats though, just to go over it. Volkanovski is 8 years older at age 35. You know, Topuria is young and hungry, so that scares me too. It's like Volkanovski has tasted this for so long, and then we got Topuria that's like, I need to taste this. It's like, is Topuria's confidence and just like grind gonna outdo, in my mind, Volkanovski's experience? We don't know, but Volkanovski, 15 fights in the UFC, only lost to Islam twice. Like, what a record. Holy shit. Ever since 2019, he's been fighting killers. Fucking Aldo, Holloway, Ortega, Korean Zombie. And then he recently KO'd Yair in round 3, I believe. Yeah, round 3. He's just that guy. He's positive attitude. Another guy that everybody in the organization loves. Haven't heard a bad thing about him once. And he's just overall a demon when it comes to fighting. Like, his fight IQ is just disgusting. I believe I heard he used to play rugby at 200 pounds. Like, he's just a fucking bulldozer. We'll talk about Topuria now. He's never lost a professional fight ever. Insane. Entered the UFC in 2020. Is on a 6-fight win streak. He beat the living shit out of Ryan Hall. And I was kind of excited for that because I was pretty over Ryan Hall's style. I'm not going to lie. It was like cute and fun at first. But then, like, that Topuria fight, I was like, he had a close first round with Herbert, but came through in that second round with the KO where he just slept him, and that's another like viral clip that's been around UFC. This guy, his punching power is like out of this world, where he's just got a KO highlight reel for days. He beat the shit out of Bryce Mitchell too. submitted him, which is not easy. He literally just like battered this kid. So it's like two absolute killers going in there. It's just like the closest thing to gladiators you'll see, at least for, you know, the next few months. And then in his last fight, he went 5 rounds with Josh Emmett and won by unanimous decision. Josh Emmett is so fucking scary. For you to be in a cage with him for 25 minutes and not only survive but go unanimous decision, it's like I can't say enough about Topuria. It's like, that's why I just want to watch this as a fan. I don't care like who wins. My pick is Volk, but like off nothing really. It's just like, I hope Volk wins. That's really it. Main card is stunning, and the prelims in my eyes just fucking suck, minus the Tafa and Lima fight. But it's UFC. I'll watch anything. I'm very excited for this card. I will have way more stuff for you on social media. I'm always blabbering on Instagram. You're going to see some TikToks and all that. My guy Seb will be on here in a couple of days. We'll do like an official prediction thing. We still have to watch weigh-ins and all that kind of stuff, but we're happy to be here, happy to give you guys picks, and we hope some of this stuff hits. So you guys see what I've seen as of right now, and again, more information to come. So, and guys, real quick too, if you don't mind, just like, comment, subscribe, any of that. It helps the algorithm a lot. I'm just starting off, so any little interaction or engagement helps the algorithm for me. So I do appreciate that. My name is Max, aka Controversy. We're the Parlay Princes. Appreciate you guys.
I got me a bag, it can't even fit up in my jeans. The niggas mad, prices back up on my team. We try too fast, I don't even know if I made it down the street. In French, I we the team. 100 rolls up in a week. I made 100 right in that week. I just say shit, I cannot sleep.